So, welcome to Liberal Buzz Show. I wish more people who called themselves liberal actually were. Because it's not that I don't know if it's because they don't care and they don't understand, or they just care. I mean, they don't want to care or understand. So, anyway, I'm still trying to figure it out, because on Facebook they just ignore our issues. For instance, I know that they're reading what we say, so I found that out. They want to know who we vote for, but I'm talking about the lawmakers. They just don't. They're a little bit apathetic towards us, and so we're gonna have to all get together at the Tenderloin Neighborhood School, where the Democratic County Central Committee are meeting. They're meeting February the 28th at 6:30 p.m. at the Tenderloin Neighborhood School, so we can get our voices in about how we can teach these people that call themselves liberal actually what liberal is, because they might not know. And I just want to say the nicest things I can about them, until I can't anymore. So, I hope that doesn't happen, and help us. So we need bodies in there. We need them to allow compassionate care in San Francisco. We need to allow, because we're last on the list. This is what Shona had to say about it. She's going to be my guest today. She's doing a lot of multitasking. She's running a group. She's doing legislation about our civil rights to our herb. So, actually, she says there's an article called "California's New Cannabis Laws Squeeze Out Compassionate Programs." So, see, these people sweetly they only give cannabis to people who are going to die. They're going to die. So see, I think if you don't have AIDS or cancer, they won't give you medicine. So they've been around for a long time, and they've been trying to take credit for our work. These people, more white boys trying to take credit for what women do. So here we go. And I'm not a man hater, trust me. I'm just saying, these particular people are, and we'll talk about who they are. Shona's got plenty to say about them in a minute, but so see, they go on and on about compassion and how great they are, but they don't know anything about the laws that we created. They're not even giving us credit for having the very first compassionate program in San Francisco. See the article, there's no understanding of the law or what can be done, and once again, it's a rewrite by mostly white affluent men on compassion history. We have a lot of history with compassion, especially Shona. Well, I went to Dennis Peron's club in 1996 and got free cannabis every Tuesday, I believe. And Dennis Peron just passed away. He kept the Prop 215 simple, where it just had so many loopholes it made people mad. So that's why they felt like they had to over-regulate us. But really, Prop 215 was probably over-regulation too. I think that it should be grown like tomatoes or lettuce. Let us grow in peace. I'll say it again over and over. So, Axis of Love SF, we wrote the first non-binding resolution regarding compassion. Now, compassionate care means free cannabis for people who can't afford it. Now, I can never afford cannabis with all the taxes going to the police. Have you seen the prices? I haven't been in a dispensary, and I don't plan to go to one anytime soon. I've seen the sticker shock already from other people post their receipts on Facebook, and it's scary. $600 for an ounce? Really? Boy, oh boy. So now Ross Mercarimi, who used to be sheriff till Conrad got him thrown out, the developer Conrad, and along with David Campos and maybe even Jane Kim too. We don't know, but see. So anyway, Axis of Love they weren't very good with compassion either. So we've got to get our law, we're pretty much, we deserve this. We legitimized the herb for them to come along and turn it into a VIP commodity. And we see you, and we're not fooled. So it was a non-binding resolution. So that resolution that Ross Mercarimi, that at the time he was supervisor of District 5, he made a resolution that's not, because the industry blocked, they were going to make it a binding resolution where they had to give away compassion, but they blocked that. That was blocked by the industry and the business industry, the business interests. It's mostly, it's an us versus them, really. Axis of Love, we've been working on amendments to secure compassion programs in San Francisco. I mean, we've spent a lot of time at City Hall and sometimes till 2 in the morning trying to get compassion, which is free cannabis for poor people who can't afford it, like I said. We worked for, Shona's worked for 15 years, actually. She used to be with Champ up there on Church Street. I was out of the country when they had that. So she worked 15 years to get compassion program protection, and as chair of the Patient Advocacy Committee of the Campos Task Force. Now, Campos was elected in 2008. We worked very hard on his campaign, and he was very grateful. But it just seems like all of them just they're he's representing the industry too, which I understand. So we sat down with City Hall for years, and the merchants trying to move forward, and all the roadblocks were industry based, all of them. So we wanted to get compassion program protection. We've been trying this for 15 years. Now the window of opportunity is going to close in July because they're going to finalize all these useless regulations that we do in July. Oh, there's somebody. And oh, there she is. That's Shona. She probably will. So in July, Jerry Brown is working on all these. Hey, Shona, she's my I've been briefing everybody on what the inaccurate article and the business threats to our compassion programs over and over. For years, we've been blocked, and it's always been industry-based. So, and Shona, she's the educational director of Axis of Love and the CEO also, Axis of Love SF. We can be found on Facebook and Twitter. So follow us. And so, Shona, any news?
Well, I think, there's a lot of news, of course. Things are unfortunately, one of the things that Axis of Love had warned people about is that, even with the allowance for compassion that was put into the emergency set of regulations, which is what we're operating on right now, with most of the small growers and even medium-sized growers who were not able to make the first cut of the permitting process, they can no longer provide and be able to be remunerated for their surplus at the stores without one of these pretty fancy, pretty intricate, compliant at state level. So what you have is, even though we have an allowance for compassion programs through the retail providers, most low-income and indigent patients were involved.
Hey, I think we're losing the signal. Yeah.
Or donation-based groups, and the group right right now because the donations are not coming in, because a lot of the smaller to medium-sized growers have either left the state, have taken down their gardens, or have gone, completely underground. So, unfortunately, legalization has had one of its most severe impacts on the very people that brought in medical cannabis, which is, the poor, the disabled, the indigent, and the very sick. So, both me and you, Denise, and several other patient advocates of Access of Life had not supported Prop 64, but MCLR version 3, which had a provision for groups who were serving to immediately, get some sort of even playing field. And the thing is, is that, people are going to start organizing.
Good. They're going to start organizing. Yeah, you're cutting out. Shona, you're cutting out.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me now?
I hope so. Yeah, a little better. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Cheers.
Another thing that has occurred that's very important with this process is that California Growers Association has filed a lawsuit. We had one of the promises, sort of Prop 64, which brought on board some of the smaller to medium-sized growers, is that there be a hold-off for the large grow buy-ups for at least 5 years, and somehow that got taken out in the back room. So,
yep.
And that makes the situation for poor patients even worse, because if we have a huge companies, international, national, huge companies come in and purchase large portions of land and, do a consumer, not patient-based production, they're not people that have been invested with the patient movement or know the patient movement or perhaps even care about the patient movement. So, Access to Love totally supports the lawsuit that Hezekiah Allen and Cal Growers put in towards the state. And I hope that compassion providers don't also have to file a lawsuit, but the other things that, we had been, Access of Love has been out there working on compassionate care for the last 17 years. We wrote the first non-binding resolution regarding compassionate care, and we did receive blocks from the industry. We held the patient advocacy seat for 2 terms in a row at the Campos Task Force, and we saw, firsthand the industry run out the clock basically on agendizing compassion. But at the end of the Campos Task Force, we were able to secure a unanimous the compassion resolution binding, but that never got to the full board.
Oh.
Then when we went through the last
I remember
session
that.
of regulations, we had Supervisor Jeff Sheehy put in 2 baby steps on compassion for the city of San Francisco. So this isn't at the state level, but at the local level, he put in 2 amendments. The first one opened up the possibility of San Francisco retail outlets to do a compassion programs, because the first round of the emergency regulations and some of the MRSA basically stated that the retailers could not do this. So he opened that gate, and then I was talking with his legislative aide, Bill Barnes, who's a longtime supporter of cannabis issues, that we needed to open that up to the growers and to other, points in the supply chain. And so at the very last round of amendments for the San Francisco regulations, he put that in. And then throughout the year, we had been promised by Supervisor Jane Kim that she was going to do something for standalone compassion programs like Access of Love, like Sweet Leaf, like EVAC, like Weed for Warriors. You know, we had requested a standalone grandfathering of all pre-existing compassion programs and to enable a portion of Prop 64, which allows for local governments to immediately give a temporary permit to groups that primarily serve low-income patients. And unfortunately, Jane Kim and her chief of staff, Bobby Lopez, sort of did a bait and switch on us, and we did not get that entered. So now we're working with the Office of Cannabis, who I met with Supervisor Asha Safayai's aide, Suha Sandoval. Me, her, and Nicole Elliott sat down and started a discussion of what was needed for compassion programs. And then most recently we had the sort of miss of the amendments and the legalities article come out in Forbes, which unfortunately Access of Love was not included in. And you know, but at least it raises the question of what's going on here with compassion, you know, and we should have been first. That should have been the first thing solved, dealt with, and it's sad.
It's shocking. It's shocking. It's just like the president and Prop 64 all at once. It was like, you know, and the trifecta.
Yeah, it was a really
Bang,
horrible
zoom.
year. Yeah, a really horrible year as far as all of that goes. But we're really all going to need to get to the Board of Supervisors and to get to the Democratic Central Committees meeting in February. We need to pack the room, because the other thing that Access of Love did prior to the passage of Prop 64 is we organized within hours and packed that meeting and told them not to vote in favor of Prop 64. Prop 64 only won by one vote. And included in that vote was that they were going to make sure that compassion was heard. And the DCCC has not come through on that yet. So I hope everyone is willing to put aside some time the last Wednesday of February and really pack that meeting and make sure the Democratic Party knows that, no, there are consequences when you betray your constituents.
The ones that
betrayal.
Yeah, and they're also using the tax money they get out to get elected. You know, Gavin Newsom, and then, you know, isn't he getting a slush fund for, you know, I've heard this. Is this true?
Well, you know, I think a lot of the politicians have become involved with cannabis because they see the dollar signs for certain. And that's not just happening in California. That's happening in every state that, you know, the minute before they didn't want to touch us with a 10-foot pole. They wanted the conversation to be over quickly.
Yeah.
You know, and now we have everyone from, you know, the most progressive to the most conservative wanting a piece of the action.
Yeah, it's like they gentrify the herb, too. They're gentrifying the neighborhood, gentrifying the herb, all that.
Yeah, it's a real moment of having to sort of wake each other up and go, now's the time to get in their faces, so to speak, and demand that all of the freestanding, not associated with a dispensary, compassion programs in San Francisco are grandfathered in, and our harm reduction services supported. And this is stuff that saves people's lives every single day in this city. And patients, you know, the medical discount, the price of cannabis is only going to go up, you know, and So more than ever, we need to be compassion warriors together.
Definitely. I'm feeling that. Well, thank you for your time, Shona. We got about 15 seconds. Any last words?
Compassion plus action equals life. Let's get together.
Let's get together. Together we can do this. We can't do it alone.
Absolutely not. Thank you so much, Denise.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. I'll call you later.
Okay.
Bye-bye.